Hi and good day everyone. My name is Muhammad Ashraf Zulkifli and I will be representing Associate Professor Dr. Razwan Abdul Rashid in delivering a keynote lecture on the topic of bridging language and sexuality through discursive psychology. Uh, Today I will present findings and discussions from one of our paper that is part of a bigger research project that look into discursive research on LGBTQ topics in Malaysian and Muslim contexts. Before we go to the paper, let us present to you what we had done so far in our project. So this is the first paper that we had done, right? It is a paper that discuss how Islamic sermons on homosexuality are presented by Islamic preachers. And this is the second one. It is published in Discourse and Society. We looked into how homosexual Malaysian Muslim men talk about homosexuality in Islam. And this is the third work that we have published. It is a book chapter and it looks into how homosexual Muslim men express themselves in anonymous Facebook setting. So this is in social media context. This is the book and this is the book chapter. Okay, now what we are going to focus on today is this topic. The difference is we will look into how gay men in straight marriage express their experience. So we are looking into this phenomenon, right? Why gay men choose to marry women and the experience ensued from such relationship. This paper has just been accepted in Frontiers in Psychology, so if everything goes well, it will be published there soon. Okay, so the issue of gay men marrying women can be seen in newspaper article in Malaysia, right? It has been reported, and we can see that it is a serious problem because usually the way it is reported is it will talk about how the relationship between the husband and the wife are ruined because the husband would cheat on the wife or would bring uh, disease STDs to the wife. It is also reported in the international news site as well. Alright, in the literature review, we look into several papers. So we found that research done in this field usually are done in the context of Abrahamic faith, right? The Judaism, Christianity, as well as Islam, because these religions forbid homosexuality. So this is mainly the reason why gay men of this faith choose to marry women so that they can somehow cure themselves from their homosexual feelings. There's also cases from China. In China, this phenomenon of gay men marrying women is also prevalent. So prevalent that they have a specific term which describe wives of gay men, they are called tongqi, right? So in China, it is a very hyper masculine culture whereby the son is more revered compared to the daughter. This is because they want the son to carry on the family name. So, and it also makes worse because in China they have the one child policy. So if the child is a son, so he face a huge pressure to get married so that they can continue on the family name. So even if the son is gay, he would probably face social pressure to get married as well. Alright, so for the methodology, For this paper, it is a qualitative research and we employ case study design. And for the data generation, we do in-depth semi-structured interview and memoing of the time when we do the interview. And we would analyze the interview transcript using discursive psychology, more specifically the discursive action model. This is a discursive action model. There are basically three aspects that we look into. The first is action, how talks are considered as action, fact and interest, how the speakers would present their talk so that it would protect their stake and interests, as well as accountability, how the speakers allocate blame and accountability in their talk. Right, so these are the participants' profile. We have two subjects, Fahrin and Mus. Both of them are in their mid-30s. Fahrin was still married to the wife at the time of the interview, while Mus was already divorced at the time of the interview. Alright, so let's look at the findings, and in this part, we will look at the excerpts of the interview and how we analyze and make sense of what was being said by the subjects. Alright, so the first theme is the allocation of blame and accountability. Why we choose this theme? It is because both subjects admitted that they cheated on their wives at the time of their marriage, cheated with another man. So we will not only look at what is being said, but how it is being said, because that is what discursive psychology is all about. Rather than looking at the what, we'll also look at the how it is being presented. Okay, so this is the first excerpt 1, the conversation between interviewer and Fahrin. So you can see right off the bat that Fahrin admitted that he had relations with other men at the time of the interview, and when asked why, you can see that he right away, right off the bat, blamed the wife for his own cheating. So you can see in line 5, maybe it's the wife factor as well. So here, talk is considered as action, and the action that Fahrin performed here is that he blamed his wife for his own cheating. And what this action does, it justifies his cheating behavior. And you see in all of this excerpt, you can see that it all works towards that. For example, you can see in line 6 and 7, he employed lists. List is when you present something in a list form. So here, he lists what the wife did not do to please him, line 6 and 7, because it's like she doesn't really pay me any attention and she doesn't understand me. So I start back my old behavior. Old behavior here refers to looking for men to have sex with. Also, he employed contrast in line 11, whereby he said that not that I expect much attention. So in contrast of what she did not do, he said that his expectation is reasonable, not that I expect much attention. He didn't ask for much. So you see here, it is very apparent that he uses his talk as action as to try to justify his cheating behavior by blaming it on his wife. Alright, in excerpt 2, this part happens much later after excerpt 1. So you can pause to read the rest of the excerpt. Right here, he employed systematic vagueness. You can see in line 8 and 9 and line 7. Systematic vagueness is you present something but not in a very clear way. So let's look at line 8, 9 and 10. Maybe because maybe she does not show efforts to make me love her. and she does not do things to make me love her. So you see here, he did not really specify what is it that she did not do. And only after being asked by the interviewer what is it exactly that the wife did not do, so he specified line 13 and line 14. He like doing the laundry, it should be done like this, or like folding the clothes. So he said that he was not happy with the way the wife do the laundry, fold the clothes. So that is part of the reason why he did not love her and why it leads to him cheating on her. So you can see that the reason of why he cheat is very trivial compared to the gravity of what he did, which is not loving her and cheating on her, as opposed to blaming it on his own sexuality, right? But he did make a mention about his sexuality in line 6 and 7, right? Maybe if I were with a man, maybe I will have that feeling of care and love. So he did say that it is maybe because of his sexuality, but you see, it is very brief, a brief mention, and then he proceeded to only talk about what his wife did. All right, the second theme is attachment to Islamic faith. So this part addresses how both subjects, Islamic faith, informs their discourse on their lived experience as gay men in straight marriage. So Islamic faith is very important for Muslims because it basically shaped their worldview. All right, so for Fahrin, the interviewer, right off the bat, asks, like, do you feel guilty when he did that? Yeah, because he said he's used to it, so I don't feel much guilt. Even towards the wife, do you feel guilty? I don't know, I don't really feel guilty. And then he laughed. Okay, so let's look at the analysis. So here, he's mentioned that if people do not seduce me, then I can avoid the thing from happening, the sex I mean. So this is one of the things he mentioned. So he framed himself as a less than willing participant of sexual relations. So you can see that it removed the accountability from his action, actually. He also employ consensus and corroboration. When you employ consensus and corroboration, you try to make whatever you said appear to be something that is agreeable. For example, he said that this thing is normal, line 18, right? This thing here refer to having sexual relations outside of marriage. It's just that, actually, like getting pleasure from sexual relation. This is what it refers to. But that's about it. Yeah, that's about it. Like nothing much. So it has the effect of minimizing and trivializing what the action that he did, which in reality is not the case. Also, we can see religious expressions being expressed by Fahrin. He said that, I mean, it's not that I feel guilty towards my wife, but I do feel guilty towards God, maybe. Lines 30 and 31, right? So he expressed his guilt, a bit of guilt. Here, I have fulfilled other obligations like marriage, prayers, and all those things, but this thing is difficult. This thing meaning having sexual relations with men. So you can see that he faced this incongruence whereby his belief and behavior does not match. So even though he knows it is wrong, but he couldn't will himself to stop doing those things. We also discuss a bit of laughter. It is punctuated in the short excerpt we presented just now. So in the memo, we note that even though he laughed, but it is an uncomfortable laugh. So laughter could be used to signal embarrassment. So we inferred that it is actually, the laughter is a subconscious expression of guilt. Alright, in excerpt 5, it is between the interviewer and Moose, whereby he talks about how he first got diagnosed with HIV. So he actually had a near-death experience, like what he described, whereby he was in comatose for several days. So here, he employed vivid descriptions of what he experienced when he was in comatose. So he was unconscious, but he could hear what people were doing around him. I was conscious that people were visiting, people were reciting the Yasin for me and all that, but I couldn't open my eyes, couldn't wake up, couldn't move at all. So here, the vivid descriptions was very emotional in sort of way, because it makes the people feel like they are in his place. And also, it is very interesting to note that which part of the story he chose to highlight. So he chose to highlight a moment of realization. At the time, I could really feel in that state of helplessness. Not one single thing could help us at the time, no matter if it's our money or our family or our children. Nobody would be with us. Nobody could help us at the time, except for God. He also acknowledged that he was heedless, right, of God's command. So this part in his narration represents a pivotal moment that moves towards repentance. So he was saying that at the time of the comatose, that was when he felt that he should change the way he lives. So we discuss this excerpt in the context of the action that Moose was trying to achieve through his discourse, which is he tried to make his story serve as a reminder for Muslims not to embrace homosexuality. Right? He also mentioned these lines, which is very emotionally charged, right? What he was thinking at the time: oh Allah, if you really want to take my life in my sinful state like this, then please do so. But if you really want to give me the chance to change, then grant me the strength to change. And also a statement of regret: oh Allah, I was so bad. How could I let myself be like this? So the action here is he wants people or gay Muslims to not do what he did. Alright, in the discussion section, you can see in the findings that it does not really paint the subjects in a good light. But to simply vilify them is not it's not enough to address the issue. What we should be asking, however, how is this society structured that the gay man in straight marriage seems to be able to practice infidelity without any impunity? It seems like so easy for them to be involved with other men and cheat on their wife. So we inferred that it is because, like, the way this topic was talked about in our society, whereby it's still attached to a stigma and people are not used and can't really accept if the people they know are gays. So this environment of denial create this would create this environment whereby men are socially pressured to get married even though they don't want to. Right. So we reflected on the work of Al-Rohib, whereby he talks about how homosexuality was treated in the Ottoman period. So at that time, even though homosexuality was considered as forbidden and still very forbidden, it was openly talked about. People talk about it openly, and it is something that is acknowledged as a normal human's tendency, human nature, to be attracted to the same sex for some of the men. So when they talk about it openly, it removes the stigma, and even though it is forbidden, but there's a way for you to manage it, right? And also, it is very important as well to have a comprehensive sex education covering the LGBT spectrums, backed by reputable science and informed by words from gender and sexuality studies, would and this would be very fundamental in tackling the issue. Also, this paper also highlight the misogyny perpetrated by gay men in straight marriage towards their wives. So, the LGBT community is marginalized here, but here they also marginalize other community as well, the female community lah, right? And also the wives are would face mental issues as well, the depression caused because of the husband's behavior, as well as the physical health, right? Because when the wives was infected by HIV or STDs, it is usually from your husband who had sex with other men. Okay, this is the conclusion. All right, this study provides further nuanced insight into the psyche of gay men in straight marriage, particularly on their infidelity. We can also see the role of the subject's Islamic faith in relations to their sexuality. The third point is very interesting. We can see how the two subjects subvert and reject the conception of sexuality as it is commonly advocated in the Western world. So, even though the international community seems to acknowledge gay rights, but for Muslim community, even from the gay Muslims themselves, they seems to still reject it. So this is only, as what I mentioned, this is only case study of two people. So further research are still needed to give a more complete picture of the phenomenon of gay men in straight marriages. Alright, so that is all the presentation for me. Thank you very much for listening.